Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today that's an excellent question, on October 8th, 2024 at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose to confuse me, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every movement I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and, and have worked for literally thousands of others, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we go very far, today we're going to be looking at Beyond the Veil. So many people are taught, literally, you're taught to fear death. I'll tell you, death is the easy part. Dying, that can be a pain. But before we go very far into that, just let you know we have Storm in the background making sure that things on the technological level run properly, and to make sure if we have problem children in the room, they get removed before I go and have a heart attack. I've had enough of them, honestly. Besides that, like I said the other day, figured out I either get things straightened out or I get to make another run across the border, across the end to the veil. Now, it's a real simple issue for me, but we have LA Moon in the house, and quite frankly, I rely on her for a lot of things. She's one of the primary moderators, but she is, in all fairness, the only moderator I've ever run into. Talked to a lot of different moderators, but LA is the one that literally keeps an eye on whether my health is holding up in the middle of a stream. And yes, LA, I did just have a bite before I came online. I've been dead often enough that realistically I'm very much with LA. I don't fear death. In all fairness, there's part of me that actually looks forward to it, and before any genius jumps on that, I'm not suicidal by any stretch. Which is why I like the idea that I heard years ago. I want to die peaceably in my sleep, like my grandmother did, not screaming in terror like the passengers in her car. The nice part about it now, we've got Joey's in with the gold. How you doing, Joe? Glad you could join us. And yeah, we're going to cover that neat little thing today of what goes on behind the scenes in the graveyard as well. Renee, you are in with the silver. How's it going? The neat part of now, Renee is in with the silver there. But when we start looking beyond the veil, okay, we're talking about what happens after you die. And what happens before I overheat is we turn the airflow on and get the window open. Outside of that, we have all sorts of problems. There we go. That should help. Now, first and foremost, some of the things that did get across and that you have been told that are actually solidly on the money. Okay, number one, when you die. Okay, couple of things you gotta realize. First and foremost, your life does flash before your eyes. But here's the thing they don't tell you. When you're dying, your life flashes before your eyes. Every handshake, every pat on the back, every hug you gave somebody, every kick in the teeth. Okay, you feel it all at the same time. What you did to others, you feel from their receiving end. So if you spend your life being nice to people, on the whole, you'll end up dying very peaceably, feeling very relaxed, and meeting all the people that you really desired to. Okay, now, if you spend your life beating the heck out of people, okay, then you get to experience that as well. Now, here's the nice part. If you started your life off really rough, and you started off really being a bully, beating up on people, breaking every law you could get away with, and then somewhere along the line you turned your life around and started being nice to people again, the dominant feeling you're going to get is what comes up at the back end. You'll have to answer for the front end of your life, but the dominant feeling you'll get to deal with is the back end. Okay, what that boils down to is if you've been being a problem child, you can bet your bottom dollar that you're going to end up at least having a functionally relaxing passing. Now, do understand something. I'm talking about spiritually. What you're going through physically depends entirely on what the issue is that's taking you over. Now, that neat little concept that goes, live fast, die young, leave a good-looking corpse. I saw the results of living fast and dying young. Okay, the first vehicle vehicle accident I witnessed was a clear decap. Okay, meaning we were coming down the island highway, and there ahead of us on the side of the road was an ambulance. Okay, there was an ambulance. Laying on the ground beside the ambulance was a gentleman. It was a body covered in a red sheet. Now, normally, if you're dealing with ambulances, they use white ones. Okay, but on the other side of the road, I still see the look of the guy's head because his head was sitting upright looking back at us. And I'll tell you, it's a bit disconcerting on occasion. Okay, so that was the first one I saw. The second one I saw was a paint job. Guy went past us on the island highway, lost control, and the big bridges that have a great big, I think they're probably a 2-foot wide arc, riveted arc. Well, this was before seatbelts were mandatory, or for that matter, even available. Guy hit the side of the bridge so hard. Well, how hard did he hit it? He hit it hard enough to go through the front window and all the way up the arc. Needless to say, it was a paint job. This is why, and of course, when I got into high school, I worked for a company called Counterattack. Okay, what became Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We were a whole lot more graphic with what we show people, not this idea of, put a glass, it gets a little foggier. No, what they did with Counterattack, what I recall them doing, is putting out pictures of actual accidents. Rest assured, live fast, die young. Odds are your corpse is not going to be good looking. Okay, now that's the other neat little part. Once you pass away, okay, most people choose an image from their life that they are either content with, or sometimes they'll take on an image that they had in their own head to say, this is what I want to be remembered by. Okay, I'm still debating whether and just exactly what I'm going to come back as. I'm thinking a specter, but probably not. Okay, the reality of it is, when you pass away, the other thing they got right is absolutely your loved ones the ones that are still there, some of them will meet you. And Joe's going, oh. Now, I certainly don't expect you to get into it, Joe, but do you know what the controlling episode and what the crying episode was triggered by. You don't have to answer what it was by any stretch. But LA is absolutely correct. Okay. Quite often, tears are a great way to let go of the negative feel. It's sometimes very beneficial. Oh yeah, absolutely. LA goes, sometimes a paint job inside us is just as spectacular. I'll tell you, I am going through an absolute, an absolute analysis. Simon, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay, just remember, Simon, it's okay to sit in the corner, but no writing on the walls. I'm going through an absolute analysis of how I got to where I am. Not because I'm going to beat myself black and blue, but just to figure out what went sour. Okay, now as it turns out, and I'm not going to go into a lot of it, of course, needless to say, some stuff I'll fill in if people ask. But what I went through, I came to realize I was never gifted with the tools to actually figure out how to cope. Rachel, glad you could join us. Now, Joe got the gold, and we ended up with, where are we here? I got to go back up. Joe got the gold. Renee got the silver. We scroll down, and we have Simon with the bronze. And Rachel, you are in with honorable mention. Now, when we take a look at this whole idea of passing, okay, we're taught to fear it. Okay, some people are told you're going to hell. Some people say, hey, you've been such a dream. You're on your way to heaven. Then you've got the people that go, I believe when I die, I'm just going to end up in a hole in the ground, or I'm just going to end up in a coffin. Okay, and some people go, you just wander in limbo forever. So let's cover each of those. And it's real easy to cover them. Now, I will tell you this. A lot of what you've been told, okay, is misleading. First and foremost, all of the above exist, okay? And you don't have to believe me. That's okay. Okay, because the reality is what you believe is going to happen when you get over there is what you're going to have happen. Now, here's the kicker to it. Okay, people tell me, oh, humans all go to one area. And pets go to another area, and pets go to one area. And here's the funny part. Humans, pets, animals, plants, off-worlders, ancient races, elementals. Are we seeing a pattern here? All go to the same place. Okay, you all end up going to what some religions call limbo. Some call it purgatory. I call it a gala. Yeah, that's okay. I made a comment years ago. I'm looking at the number of people sitting in the chair, in the chair in the corner. I was lucky. I didn't like people enough, so I never dealt with them, so I didn't end up in the corner often. But I made a comment to my wife at the time one day, and a mutual friend of ours was there, and she was trying to make her comment pertinent to our lifestyle. Because my ex-wife and I, we had, when I was still married, we had 5 cats. Okay, when this issue happened. We didn't have any dogs at all, just 5 cats. And of course, I made a comment, don't recall what it was. But my wife at the time looked at me a little sideways. And the friend goes, oh man, Keith, you are going to be in the cat house tonight. And Then she stops and goes, that doesn't quite sound as bad as it was supposed to. But when you get over to the other side, now that neat little thing about the white light that you're going into, did you make it past the white light? Well, the odds are you did. Okay. If you went past the white light, here's what I found. I was expecting, you walk out the white light, through the white light, because I'd been told the same thing you guys had. Okay. Never quite worked out that way for me. But what happens is you go through the white light. The reason it's a white light is a flaming gala. You have people from every walk of life, every age. Some of them look, most of them are dressed decently, but we are not talking about dressed all in the same type. Like, you're not going into a gala where everybody's dressed in Elizabethan outfits. Okay. Everybody goes in the outfit they feel is appropriate. Okay. Some simply show up as the spark that they are. Okay. Your soul does not, by the way, have a corporeal form. Your soul doesn't actually have 2 arms, 2 legs. It's not built that way. That is the image of the body. But most people usually take the image of the body they have. Most of them go across. So you go across. You find me dead over there, send me back. I'm probably not staying anyway. But the odds are I'll look like I do now. Actually, in all fairness, I'll probably end up looking more, because this has become more an issue of me than anything else. This neat little gentleman here. Okay, there we go. Now, the neat part there is I designed that outfit before The Undertaker on WWE ever came about. But when you get over there, you come out of the gala and it's like there are literally millions upon millions of people constantly streaming out of the portals. Okay, coming into this gala. And you've got all the people meeting there. So you got people crowding the front end, trying to give hugs and shake hands and what have you. In order to make connections. Now, it's a party because everybody's just talking away, and of course, you see a stream of people heading for the back hallways, heading for the stairs going to the basement, heading for the stairs to the balconies. It's all there. Okay, because what happens more often than not, you've been taught that when you die, let's just assume you were told you're going to hell. That's where you're bound. You paid attention to the spiritual leaders here, priests, pastors, coven leaders on occasion. Of course, coven leaders not so much, because I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, somebody, but when you look at the pagan rites, they don't believe in hell per se. At least not the same one that the Bible paints. So you got people coming through, and it's like, I go across, I'm supposed to be in hell. I know this. I know I've been an absolutely pathetic person. Okay. Yeah, I bet you have, Joe. I mean, that's just a sick and twisted mind. Oh, look, there's a funeral going on. There's a funeral coming, and somebody's digging a hole. Well, I'm getting the popcorn. I'm going to sit and watch what happens. Keep an eye open there, Joe. I will tell you because I've seen it done. Okay, they've got the funeral going on, You got all the people there dressed in black and crying and in tears and the whole 9 yards. Very solemn music playing. And I watched this happen one day in one graveyard. I've seen it a lot of times. They're putting the body in, they're getting the coffin ready to drop into the hole. And you got this guy sitting on the tombstone looking at it going, guys, I'm not there. I mean, that's very nice of you to bury the box, but why? Okay. Every now and then, so what you get is a whole fanfare of people, if you've ever been in an active graveyard and were willing to see what's there. It is amazing how many attendees show up at a funeral where the attendees are deceased already. Okay, it's probably a good thing that we don't have cameras that pick up solid images of ghosts, or we would have some pretty funky photographs. But when you get over there, you come out and let's just assume you think you're going to hell because you've been a bad person, and you know you've been a bad person. So you get in and get through that white light into this great big gala. And by the way, like I said, I've got a friend I'm waiting for over there. He ended up dying while I was in the middle of my heart attack. No, while I was in the middle of my stroke. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah. LA goes, most pagans believe in the Summerland, aka heaven, but evil is sent to hell, the goddess of the underworld. If they're a real rotter, she'll handle it. You don't want her to handle it. Okay, and I will tell you, it's a wonderful thing. You go down there and you come out, you're expecting to go to hell. So it's like, you look around, there's all these people, party going on, really. All kinds of business meetings going on. And all of a sudden, this guy comes out of the light into the gala and goes, but I was told I was going to hell. Somebody in the party, usually a whole pile, will look at him and go, oh, no problem. Downstairs. You go downstairs, go through the first door there that you find. They'll take care of you. You walk into hell. Okay. And then, of course, the dead are going, the newly arrived are going, oh, okay, so we're still in a bit of a shock. They walk down the stairs. Some genius will go and grab hold of you and throw you into the river. Rest assured, the river is warm. And that's the understatement of the decade. I personally find that the hot dogs in hell are way too hot. Okay? Not relaxing at all. Something about you gain the sensation of having your skin being boiled off. Now, periodically, absolutely there, LA. Periodically, LA was just asking, so there's levels of hell. Absolutely. But the funny thing is, who was it now? Dante talked about 9 levels in hell. Okay, and it was great. Problem is, hell is an extremely varied locale. Okay, depending on what you see as hell, okay, that's what you'll get treated to. Or heaven, take your pick. So you get down there, and we're just going to deal with hell for a minute. Okay, when we deal with hell, you come in, oh, newcomer, fresh meat, into the river. And needless to say, you hit the water, it's hot. Okay, so they push you into the river. Now you're going to try and get out, and they'll keep pushing you back in. Once in a while, one of these guys will come along and grab hold of you and pull you out of the river and flop you onto a table. Yeah, Simon, no doubt. Simon goes, likewise for each divorce. See, I had a weird divorce, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But you will spend until you figure out the way it works. And I can tell you this because you're going to forget it when you go over anyway. Okay, in all likelihood. Myself, I remember it. It's funny now, right? But you're trying to get out of the river. They keep pushing you back in. Okay, and eventually you'll get frustrated, and just out of panic or just out of, if you will, a whim, quit pushing me back in. The guy that's been pushing you back in will go, oh, sorry, and he'll step back. Almost invariably, the guy that's just had that happen will turn around, guy or gal, by the way, will turn around and go, wait, I thought you were I was told you would continue pushing me in, regardless. And the guy just step back, I'll step back forward and shove you back into the river. And, rinse and repeat. Okay, this is why it takes forever. Because eventually it'll dawn on you. Okay, you tell them, knock it off. I don't want to be in the river anymore. Okay, sorry. And they'll step back and turn to somebody else. Somewhere in the middle of that, you may be pulled out of the river and dropped into an acid bath or thrown onto a table where your intestines will be pulled out. And as quick as they're pulled out, you're regenerating. So you get all the pain and none of the relief. Until you figure out that once again, you can look at these people and go, knock it off. I've had enough. Okay. And they go, oh, no problem. They'll cut you loose, grab somebody else, throw them on the table. It's not like there's a shortage of work. Okay. And, the reality of it is, the more cruel the individual getting over there, this is where it gets really trippy. Right? Sometimes somebody will get pulled out of the river and shove somebody else in. That's how you go about getting a promotion. The more cruel people are when they get over there, the more likely they are to step up to the plate. They step up to the plate and they go, I'm not getting this done anymore. Forget that noise. Somebody will grab them, they'll grab the nearest person and throw them in. Net result, now they've joined the party of pushing people back in. That's the funny thing, Simon. Simon's just asking, Keith, how does this work with soul contracts? Didn't we agree to be good or bad beforehand? Simon, the answer is sort of. Okay, what the soul contract is to start with is it's a contract with yourself. You're coming here to this world to experience, like, let's just take the idea of, I'm coming in to experience evil. Okay, so you come in with that contract. That's what you're here to learn. It is based on, now, you set yourself up what family you're getting into, what kind of an environment. And it's between that environment and your chosen actions that will enable you to experience what being evil is. Now, in all fairness, one of the easiest ways to set yourself up for that is arrange for another soul who desires to be abusive. Arrange for them to be one of your parents. Okay? Now, these are soul contracts. They are not logical choices by corporeals. So what ends up happening, is you go down there and, you get up here. You're doing whatever you can. Let's see. While you're setting up the contract to be evil, what can I do to really upset people, to really hurt people? because I want to feel what that experience is. I want to set it up so badly that when I come across the border and come back here, I have the living daylights beaten out of me. Okay. Now, you got to remember, from a soul standpoint, this is just an experience. Kira, how we doing? Glad that's Kira I am. How you doing? Oh, there we go. Not a problem, Kira. Glad you dropped in. So you get over there and you have this wonderful little experience of being tossed back in. Somebody will throw you onto the table sooner or later, and they don't bother with this idea very often. Very seldom do they deal with the idea of, oh, we're going to shackle your wrist to the table. We're going to tie your hands up. We're going to shackle your wrist. No, 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 no. They lay you on the table. They grab a big freaking double hook spike. Okay. So it literally, if the arms of the spine, the shaft, you've got the double hook and the arms fit right in here. But they drive the spike through the flesh. Okay. And pin you to the table. There is no breaking out of the bonds. Okay. And then they will beat the daylights out of you. Now, that being said, anything you can imagine, okay, whatever you can imagine, these people will be able to do because you're the one setting it in motion. Okay. Now, sooner or later, you'll figure out I don't have to stay here. And as Twisted Sister put it, I'm not going to take this anymore. Okay. Sooner or later, you'll figure it out. And now you can walk up the stairs and get out of hell and go back to the gala. Okay. Now understand the same thing happens in heaven. You get told, you get sent, and you go up to heaven. You show up, you go, hey, I was supposed to be in this really relaxing environment, fluffy clouds, the whole 9 yards, really relaxing music. What is going on? Oh, up the stairs. Okay. So yes, humans have figured out, you've got the stairway to heaven, and I'm dang certain it's a super slide to hell. But you get to pick which one. Okay. If you're a believer that you go to a coffin and that's where you stay, same idea. That you come in. I thought I was supposed to be in a coffin. Coffins are down the hall. Any one of the doors leads to a whole bank of things. On the right, you'll find the coffins. On the left, it's just a hole in the ground. Take your pick. And you watch these people, they're constantly flowing in, okay, constantly crawling into the coffins themselves. I watched one guy do it, it was priceless. He comes down, gets into the coffin, lays there for about 5 minutes, and then goes, wait a minute, I climbed into the coffin. He gets back out and comes back out to the gala. Now, here's the thing. We hear about the dead making contact. You don't make contact from hell, heaven, the grave, the hole in the ground, or the coffin. Sorry, guys, coffins do not have room service. Heaven, you get all kinds of wonderful foods brought to you, okay, while you relax. Hell, you get all kinds of foods not quite so pleasant being shoved down your throat. Okay, so and this is what you're looking at. It's not a question of the people that believe that heaven exists or that hell exists. Okay, some people go to a section of heaven where it's clouds. Others go into a lush green forest or a wide open meadow. Okay, and yes, animals, plants, you name it, it's a total mix. Ultimately, LA, yes. Same thing applies to Summerland, Valhalla, okay, all the different names, what you see, what you believe is going to be there, is going to be there. Okay, it's a nice part about having so many diverse outlooks. Okay, some people, I kid you not, see hell as being forced to sit amongst people that are enjoying the carnal side of life. Some people see that as absolutely appalling. Okay, and you can figure out what to do with that. So, hell is what your imagination will do. This is why so many people get locked in it. Now, here's the neat part about it. Okay, and try and wrap your brain around this. Here on earth, you can live in either heaven or hell, with one small difference. No, one huge difference. On earth, it's not a question of going, oh, I got it, and it changes. It's a question of, oh, I got it. Now I'm going to make the changes. Okay, but if the nice part beyond the veil is it will last as long as you let it. Now, somewhere in the Bible, as I recall, and I haven't got this far, it tells you somewhere in the Bible that a day is as 1,000 years. This means that a second is about 3.5 days. A minute is about 9 months. Okay, so when we look at that, I watched a guy, he had told his wife that he did not believe, he did not believe in the whole idea of life after death. It just wasn't part of his belief. But he had respected his wife and gone to church regularly with her, right? And he told her on her deathbed, or on his deathbed, if there is a way to do so, I will come back and let you know I'm okay. Okay. And he goes, and you, please, if this is right, absolutely, do come back and let me know. Now, she believed wholeheartedly in the entirety of the psychic phenomenon of mediumship, the whole 9 yards. And what her husband said, and he told her as she was dying, I will go to one medium. I will go to one medium. Okay. After I get through dealing with this, because I'm a wreck right now. I don't want you to go, but I give you my word, I will go to a medium. One. So she passed away. He was with her right till the end. And now we got to understand, this guy was well over 6 feet tall. He was a drywaller, built like an absolute freight train. Okay. He shows up at a psychic fair. And I mean, huge barrel-chested man. Comes in and he sits down. We talked about what he was looking for. So I said, no problem. He says, I don't believe she's there. I don't believe in this stuff at all. Right? But he says, I gave my wife my word I'd be here. So here I am. He goes, don't take offense to this. I don't believe in what you're doing at all. He said, but I did say I'd come here and I'd give an honest listen. So he turns around and we identified who his wife was. All I got was all that he gave me was her name and her birthday. So I took that information and went, here's who she was. No problem. And he acknowledged, yeah, I pinned her down, personality, appearance, the whole 9 yards. All of a sudden, now he's leaned back. He's got his legs stretched out full length under the table. And he's sitting there like this. Right? Just absolutely straight faced. It's like, okay, so you could analyze what she looked like. Great, type thing. Oh, and I just made a comment to him. I said, look, I says, I said, you're dealing with a health issue. Okay, and you've got an operation coming up at the end of the month. And his eyes popped open. It's like, Yeah. I said, look, when the doctor says take 6 weeks off to recover, take the 6 weeks off. And he goes, yeah. And all of a sudden he rocks forward like this. I'm not going to do it. But he comes forward all the way down, hit his forehead on the table without having a chance to get his hands open. Right? He never took his arms down. He just all of a sudden did a face plant on the table. And he comes back up. He's looking all over the place. I'm usually composed doing a reading. And he is looking all over the place, just wild-eyed. I'm killing myself. And he's going, well, what happened? Well, and bear in mind, we've got 9 other psychics in the room. And I looked at him and I said, look, as soon as I told you, pay attention to the doctor, she come out and she just hammered you across the back of the head. Well, that set him off. And with a chest the size of his, you can picture how badly that echoed. So he turns around and he starts roaring. Well, that brought the whole place to a standstill. Then he tells me, that's what my wife used to always do. Now, bear in mind, he was 6+. She didn't break the 5. But she would invariably grab you remember the old thick foam books from the big cities, Vancouver and Toronto, or Detroit, LA, the great big thick ones. She'd come around the corner when she wanted him to listen. She would just hammer him. Okay, so he's killing himself laughing. At the end of it all, he looks at me and he goes, I told my wife I don't believe in mediums. I don't believe in any of this. He said, I still don't believe in the massive majority. He said, you, on the other hand, are real. Now, I still question my own sanity, so let's not get carried away on that, shall we? Now, Joe's just adding here, when my older female spirit voice came into my life 4 years ago, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me personally. I haven't felt her presence in a long time. That, Joe, I think you're about to find is going to change. But you'll know about that. When you get over there, spirits are very real. Okay? But what you got to remember is you're the one that still has control. You just don't recall it at this point. It's very much like you have control over what happens with the money you do have and the material stuff in this world you do have. Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of things wrong with society. Okay, but in amongst that fiasco, you're the one in dominant control. You're the one that has control over whether you're going to pick up a bottle, grab a joint, grab a needle. Okay, maybe you're going to stuff your face full of food to the point that you are grossly overweight. Okay, you're the one doing it. And this is the thing that we're aiming for here, is to help you realize you actually have control, and all you need is a little guidance on how to reclaim it. Okay, one of the biggest things we have to look at is over there, you have dominant control over whether you're going to continue suffering for eternity. And in case you hadn't noticed, and Simon, I believe you're sitting in the corner, are you not? If you haven't noticed, if you're sitting there trapped in a scenario, either in death or in life, okay, it's going to feel like it's taking forever. Okay, eternity is not exactly a measurement. Okay, eternity is a feeling. And if you can hold on to the idea that when I talk about honest repentance, I do not mean on your deathbed, sit there and say, oh, I'm sorry for what I did. I don't think I deserve to go to hell, because I'm saying I'm sorry. That ain't the way it works. Okay. Simon goes, still here, Keith. This writing on the wall was already here. That's terrible. Terry, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. And no, I'm just a passing visitor. Terry goes, I bet Keith owns the fifth layer of hell. I'd have to look up and see what the fifth layer is. Dante laid it out really nicely. But no, I show up in hell and the gatekeepers are looking at me going, why are you here? And it's like, oh, I just came down to see some of my friends. Not to worry, I'm just passing through. I remember the other day, well, a few months back now, in town here, I had said something, I have no idea what I said. But I remember what the woman said. She come out and she looks at me and she goes, there's a place in hell for somebody like you. I said, yeah, they call it the throne. So I drop in every once in a while to see whether or not it looks right. But, in my off time, and you got to remember, this whole thing about the afterlife, every race you've run into, every species, every race, every individual, they're all down there. Now, I shouldn't say that because when you're dealing with human corporeals, okay, average turnaround time for a human to reincarnate rather, same thing, to reincarnate on Earth. Average time is 70 Terran years. Okay, so when we take a look at that, everybody's down there. It's one heck of a shindig. Now, a friend of mine put it one day. I was talking to him about it, and he's an archaeologist. I think he's actually dead now. But he was an archaeologist. And he literally looked at me and he goes, Keith, I think everybody's got this whole thing of heaven and hell wrong. He goes, he says, I'm certain that if you're really nice, if you're really bad, he says, you get sent to heaven, where you're told, sit down on these really comfortable seats, the ones that you just kind of sink into. Have a glass of apple juice or a glass of wine, sit down, shut up, and behave yourself. Okay. LA, the reason someone reincarnates earlier is to tie off loose ends from the last lifetime. I myself died in 1956 and was born in 1963. A 7-year turnaround. Okay, because I had made a promise in my last lifetime to take an alien child and get it to safety. So I came back to make sure it got to safety. Oh, heavens no, I'm not the one that I know the gatekeeper. He's a wonderful chap. And by the way, the ferryman isn't exactly always like, it's not just one ferryman. You got to realize there are billions, well, quadrillions, etc. I don't know the number I want to work with. There's so many people coming in through the portals, down the river, so many people showing up. There are a lot of people doing it. Like, take any city. How many cabbies do you have in any city per capita? Got the same problem. Okay, all kinds of ways to get around there. But yes, Joe, the Ghostbuster 1984 was an excellent movie. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, I actually just watched the recent one. But when we're looking at what goes on, you get over there, and so many people, they look at the gala going, this is wrong. So, of course, they go running off in their different directions. Everybody at the gala is having a hoot. It's like, You're there long enough, and finally it's like, yeah, what do you think? That one going to you're looking into the crowd. Bet you that brunette chap there, bet you he's going to San to lay down in the coffins for a while. I'll take you up on that bet. And yes, they have betting down there. It's not exactly a casino. They don't work with money. It's the theory. It's the feel of the thing. Okay, it is one heck of a party, but I digress. This bunny goes, the really bad people get told, go up to heaven, sit on really comfy chairs, listen to elevator music, and behave. Not one nasty word out of you. One nasty word, and you will be quieted. Not mugged, not gagged. It's just all of a sudden you'll get that dreaded cone of silence, and you won't be able to be heard. The really good people, they're the ones that get sent down to hell. The biggest party in existence where you can be as volatile as you'd like to be. Okay, so those of you that were suffering as bullies, if you were genuinely nice people, are likely to end up according to him, you're likely to end up in hell. Okay, you get to pick which direction you're going. Your call. Myself, I find hell, well, the deep tissue massages are literally to die for. I'm not impressed with the hot tubs. And by the way, the polar bear dip, also no fun. Although the polar bear dip does taste not bad. That you have to go down to the section of hell where the polar bears go when they think they've gone to hell. Oh, actually, Simon, I probably did before, but not tonight. Simon's asking, why do ghosts hang around here and not move to heaven or hell? That is because they have committed themselves to watch over somebody to where they were trying to get some sort of task completed, or they left it in somebody else's hands, and they desire to make certain for them to feel they can move on. They need to know what happened with that project or with that person. So they hang around long enough to see it through. Then they figure out how to get over. And that's where some of the active psychics here come in real handy. Because if a ghost gets trapped, the doorway to get to the other side is only there. It's only readily visible as you come across the threshold in the first place. But if you wait too long, okay, then that outline fades. And then because they're on the other side, they can't see it anymore. This is why they get trapped. And sometimes they get ticked off because they get trapped. But they've got nobody to blame but them. And yes, there are psychics that can trap them. Okay, there really are. But that's where psychic mediums come in, where they can help turn the lights on and go, okay, there's the doorway you need to go through. But that's why they tend to stick around. Especially if it's like, for instance, somebody is dying and they don't feel that their child or the one they're caring for, their charge, is in proper shape to take care of themselves. Okay, that ghost will stick around to watch over things. Okay, to watch over what's going on. Now, sometimes a ghost will stick around, like, for instance, I got a friend of mine, Fenyon. Okay, Fenyon was a coroner back during the Black Plague, during the Black Death. And he and I started off as absolute rivals, but became absolutely tight as thieves in more ways than one. But that's why they tend to hang around. Sometimes they get over there so fast, they can't get their bearings. Like people that get, for instance, instantly killed because they get hit by a car. Okay, they may, because as you know, you bang your head, you're going to be a little disoriented. And sometimes what happens is they're disoriented too long, and the doorway they were supposed to go through fades, and they can't find it anymore. That's where we come in. Okay, so this issue of are they trapped here only by the fact that they don't know how to get away? Yes, there are some absolutely intriguing hauntings, absolutely phenomenal ones. Okay, like not the least of which was the Amityville Horror. Some black covens will literally stick around because they still desire to be feared on Earth. See, the thing is, you get over to the other side, and there's not quite so much fear going on. Little hard to scare somebody that can see everything you're thinking and can tell whether or not whether or not you're actually a problem. And rest assured, the other thing you gotta remember, over on the other side, there is always somebody bigger, okay, or somebody worse, or somebody smaller. I watched one spirit take out a bully on the other side. He did it fabulously. The bully was a bully, still through and through. But the guy, he tried picking on somebody, and this guy that had figured out he'd gone over there because he was a bully as well. But he had pulled himself together, figured it out, and he went after this one bully. Instead of trying to take him on muscle for muscle, not a good idea. Instead, what he did was he went into the guy's form and then blew up to his own full size inside the guy's body. Okay, literally tearing the body apart in the process. Now, what do we got? There we are. Risen Nation. My apologies. How you doing? Glad you could join us. The nice part about it, when we look at the way this world is, okay, when you get to the other side, you think this one has problems. The other side of the veil is a lot more complicated, but a lot more simplistic in some ways. The real lesson here is over there, on the other side of the veil, you've got control of how long you're going to suffer. This side of the veil, you've got control over how you cope with what you're faced with. Now, understand, I am still a firm believer. Yeah, in all fairness, Risen Nation, I am actually in much better shape, mentally speaking, than I was a couple of days ago. Long story. When you get over there, you've got control over what you're doing. Over here, regardless of what your life looks like, you still have control over a lot of it. Okay, granted, you may be having financial complications. Okay, Lord knows I've got a doozy on my lap right now. But I finally got the thing I was looking for. This time I know I got it. Okay, I was aiming for 3 things in my life. Number 1, get off this planet. I should have thought that through and told them not to bring me back. But I did get off the planet. Number 2, I desired to find peace of mind. I finally, about 3 days ago, got it. Okay, with that in mind, I do feel I might have minor setbacks, but on the whole, I'm on the upswing. Okay, the third one's going to be a witch. I desire to see the 22nd century in a functionally healthy body, in this functionally healthy body. Okay. And with that in mind, that means now I'm 61 right now. Okay. I will have to live to be 137 to make it to the 22nd century. Now, tall order, don't know yet if I'm going to pull it off, but that's my target. Okay. And failing that, I intend on figuring out what enjoying is first. Okay. But at the very least, making the most of what's left of my life. Okay. And yes, I do know with the stress level I'm under right now, I keep real close tabs on my heart and my lungs. My heart, my lungs, the whole 9 yards, blood pressure, to make sure everything's running smoothly. Okay, Simon. Simon's asking, how can we contact our ancestors for help and guidance? What techniques can we use to make this connection? No, I wasn't thinking Ouija board, and I'm not going to tell you how to make a psychomantium either. I'm going to give you a much safer method. Okay, and bear in mind, if you think about it now, I do know how to work with a Ouija board. I know how to make the things. We're not going to get into that. Okay, because that's kind of like sitting there like some genius on the internet. That's kind of like telling you how to make a bomb. I'm not going to do that for you. But the reality of it is this, Simon. 2 steps. 1, forget you don't know how, because they're there. They're already standing around waiting to talk. But in order to get out of your way to hear them, okay, in order to get out of your way to hear them, when you are wide awake, and guys, this applies to every one of you, when you're wide awake, find a comfortable position to sit in, comfortable chair. Okay, I recommend not picking the lotus position. Okay, I can do the lotus position if I dislocate both my knees and usually pop one or both ankles. You find a comfortable seat, recliner with your feet up, whatever you find comfortable. Okay, and you sit back, close your eyes, and listen for your heartbeat. Feel your heartbeat, not with your hand. Okay, we're not talking about putting your hand on your heart, on your throat, or on your wrist. You're going to put your hand, you're just going to sit there on the chair or laying on the bed when you're wide awake. Okay, and before I go any further, the reason for being wide awake is if you're tired and you do this, you'll get a fabulous sleep, but you're not likely to talk to your ancestors. Okay, so you get into a comfortable position and you feel your heartbeat. Once you can feel it, start tracking your heartbeat out through your chest, through your abdomen, down the length of your arms, down your legs. As you do that, you're going to, in all likelihood, feel a bit of a disconnect from the chair or the bed you're laying on. Okay, and that may pull you back the first number of times. Okay, but in the front of your mind, get a picture of whoever it is you're trying to contact in your head. Now, if you've got a photograph, that will help. And you literally reach out to them, call them by whatever name you usually call them by. I mean, going, hey, AH, calling people, swearing at people is not a good way to get pleasant conversation. But you relax and reach out to them. Okay, this will enable you to get an answer and ask whatever the question is. It's usually best if you can phrase the question in a yes or no fashion. Okay, the reason being, it'll either be across your forearms, most commonly across your forearms, or across the back of your neck. You'll feel a tingling sensation, much like you're feeling like a foot waking up. Okay, the stronger the tingle, the stronger the yes. If you don't get anything, the answer is no. But that should open the door for you. Okay. Now, the other thing you want to do while you're asking them, do keep in mind that you desire to recall the information with clarity. First and foremost, neat part. On Earth, like Simon just asking, how can we be sure it's them and not an imposter? Well, here's the kicker. On Earth, you can lie easily. Okay. Well, some can. I don't lie well. Okay. But you can lie easily on Earth. Over there, there's some really neat rules. If you lie, your soul gets separated into its component parts. Okay. You get pulled, you get your soul, the last soulmate merge you had, gets pulled apart. Okay. But this is where the concept of 3 times comes into play. Of the idea that when you do something wrong, it comes back to you threefold. If you lie once you've passed away, you will end up torn into 2, 4, 8 pieces. Okay, you'll get pulled into 8 pieces and scattered to the cosmos to start the journey all over. Okay, and that can take lifetimes and millennia. So people that are already on the other side tend not to desire to lie. Okay, but the easiest trick is ask them a question that you know the answer to and see what comes back. Now the funny thing is, humans think in terms of deception and lying all the time. And much as there are some races, other races that will do it, they don't see it as lying. The combi, for instance, okay, they don't consider it a lie if they tell you it's perfectly safe to go through that door. A combi, if you say is it safe going through that door, right? And the combi will tell you, yeah, it's perfectly safe, and that's where they'll end it. Now, you get through the door and find out, oh my gosh, there was a guillotine over there moving at hyperspeed. You get diced to pieces. Now, is that a lie? That's the first thing you look at. From the combi standpoint, it wasn't a lie. It was perfectly safe for them, for you to go through the door. Okay, now I can sit here, I can feel the pulse in the end of my hair. Okay, now I used to be able to feel the pulse in the end of my hair when it reached halfway down my forearms. Okay, so with that in mind, when we're talking about feeling it, okay, I know it can be felt. Of course, I got the advantage of done it for a long time. Yeah, and make the most of that there, Simon. And Joe's going, how long after the deceased is buried in the cemetery does the soul roll and roam around? Now, that's a variable. Some souls will be out like that. Okay, they will pop out right away. I had a friend that didn't even get to the grave before he was out of his body. Okay, but most of the time, expect anywhere from 2 to 5 years. Bear in mind, in Earth time is 2 to 5 years. In the soul's idea, you're looking at a second, anywhere from a minute to 4 minutes. Okay, depending on what's going on. Sometimes it can be quick. Sometimes it takes longer. Okay, but they've got the capacity to come back right away. It's just they don't all do it. You know, because I used to hang around cemeteries a lot. Now I just go there astrally because it's a lot of fun. But it's neat when you go to an old cemetery, okay, and you find that they buried people on top of people. You put a new one in there, it's like, what do you mean my place is already occupied? You got a roommate now, man. It can get really crowded on the other side. Okay, fortunately, you can pass through each other without a problem. Corporeals, when you go to pass through each other, you run into a problem. Once you're deceased, you don't have that issue. Okay, but the neat part about all of this is, from my standpoint, now I don't fear death at all. Let's face it. Died at birth, died of a fever, died of deliberate poisoning, died of drowning twice, I think. Okay. So that was great. Died of electrocution, died of a drug overdose. So I've had a number of experiences. I'm personally not impressed with the whole transition period. I just like So I can tell people, if somebody's going to get carried away with World War III, do me a favor, give them my address. The problem is, I live on the bottom floor of an apartment. My luck is I'll live through the thing. But don't kid yourself. When you die, you got a lot of people to talk to. And you don't have to worry about, oh, he's dead, so now he's going to be mad at me. He's going to come causing a problem. Oh, nice. And then he goes, when I was a youngster, we'd go clean the family's gravestones on Memorial Day and have a picnic. My mom's people weren't afraid of much at all. Yeah, it was funny. I went over, like, I've gone through grave sites. I've watched the people come out of the grave. I'm like, oh, like it was hilarious. I ended up talking to one young lady in the graveyard, and she was alive, right? But she'd come over and she was praying. She believed wholeheartedly that the dead could hear her, only she was getting no response. It just happened to be one of those weird days where I happened to have been there first. And I'm looking at her because she's looking really confused. I said, you're having trouble connecting, are you? She goes, yeah, well, I come by here. Oh, I come by here, and this is where I talk to her. I said, oh, neat little problem. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ellie goes, you can imagine the conversation that brought about. Oh, it was priceless. Because I looked at this woman and I says, oh, well, I says, the problem, she says, she's this woman has always been there. I've always been able to talk to her. I said, well, who is it? I said, well, and she goes, well, it was my grandmother. I said, oh. We had a new arrival. I said, number one, very belated, my condolences, though. But I says, question for you. Have you checked the stone 4 stones over? And she goes, why would I go over there? I said, I just suggest you go see who's in it. So she walks over and she looks back at me and she says, well, that's my grandfather's grave. He passed away just 2 months ago. I said, oh, your grandmother's visiting him. Right. The dead don't stay in their graves all that long. They consider them apartment blocks, really. Ultimately, Simon, that's very much the case. You know, it's just a different state of energy. Think of it this way. If you're driving your vehicle, as in a car or a truck, you can go all sorts of places with it. But get out of your truck and you now can go other places. It's still you. Well, the soul gets out of the physical body and it goes about its thing. But this is why I say it's really not that big of a problem from my end. Now, of course, I've got the advantage. 9 confirmed deaths, 1 I'm still debating. And I'm pretty certain I died on that one too. Which is why I don't fear death. I don't see the point in fearing it. Okay, it's a transitory period, and all fairness, it feels like it passes by real quick. GLA, it's a really good, it's a really good thing you're not on the 4th floor. Renee, thank you so much for dropping in. Glad you could share your time with us. Hopefully the rest of your night goes well. The neat part about it is we have this, and we've been taught as corporeals that life is fleeting. Well, I don't know about your life. Corporeal life, absolutely. The body can last a fair piece. But your soul's life is a whole other ballgame. It'll last quite a while. Oh, see, this is where my life gets a little screwy. I was playing D&D one day, and I had a character that actually had a multi-floor apartment block. And anytime he had to evict a problem child, he evicted them from whatever floor they were on. Yeah, I leave my doors open for any ghost to come and go as they please. But no terrorizing the people in my house or the neighbors. You don't cause a problem for me, I don't cause a problem for you. Works out rather well. But when you're getting close to the idea, the whole idea of passing away, okay, of the whole issue of life after death and what have you. I know some people will look at it and go, life begins after death. Because you got so much more leeway. You got so much more leeway where you can go and explore things. Okay. But the restrictions are much greater than they are on Earth. So take advantage of the free choice you've got here. Because on Earth, you have free will, you have free choice, you can do whatever you please. Okay, God's not going to come down and beat the heck out of you. The ghosts won't come and beat the heck out of you. Unless you start doing something real silly, like trying to kill ghosts. This is not going to end well for you. The nice part about it, when we take a look at the situation, okay, here, your imagination takes physical effort. Okay, it takes a lot of physical effort to make it happen. In the netherworld, beyond the void, it takes thought. Okay, now it can get chaotic over there, absolutely. The one thing you gotta remember is the survivors, when we have a funeral here, It's to help the survivors, the people left behind, cope with the loss. The ones that are going over, they got all kinds of company over there already. So there's not as big a problem. And this is the nice part about it. Because it is a gala, rest assured, most people go, oh, I don't want to die. And I'm like, and they're going, I'm afraid of what's over there. I'm sitting here going, I'm telling you, it is a party and a half. Now, to be clear, I'm not suicidal. Okay. I do know I've got problems with my heart and my limbs. I know this. Okay, but I also know what's causing it. But do I fear death? I don't see the point in fearing it. Death itself doesn't actually hurt. Dying can cause pain. Oh, and by the way, dying of an overdose in anything is not a pleasant way to go. Okay, I've died via poison. I've died via drug overdose. It's trippy, but it is not fun. The thing you've got to remember is you're the one, when you get over to the other side of the veil, that's where you start planning this life. That's where you lay out the contract to say, this is what I'm going to accomplish. Like, next lifetime, I haven't decided, I don't really care how the family I come into is going to have money. I don't know if they'll be a million millionaires because they were honest, or millionaires because they were cartel rulers. Okay, what I do know is I'm coming in to have a whole sheepload of money so that I can continue what I started here. Okay, now the last lifetime I died in 56, came back in 63. I came back looking for one person. I found her. Okay, as it turned out, I also found my former fiance who died in 1828. Ended up running into her this lifetime too. Funny part was she recognized me before I spotted her. This is why I say I question my sanity all the time. And then once a year I get to see my sanity clause. But when you're looking at the deceased, okay, and what goes on beyond the veil, picture the biggest gala that you can possibly imagine, with the widest array of peoples available. Okay, now you could liken it to like a Comic-Con or something to that effect. Picture whatever party you see as being the big deal. Okay, you can find a spot where it's happening. So the one thing I do want you to realize is whatever you're being told about fearing death, going to hell, being trapped in a box for the rest of eternity, eternity does not have a year length. Okay, it doesn't have an expiry date. Eternity simply means a long time. Simon, that would not be a shock. Now, do I think everybody here is? Not likely. Okay, I will tell you, a lot of my closest friends early on, I burned at the stake 400 years ago. Okay, I do know I dealt with a staggering number of people. Okay, and depending, now that's a loaded question. I gotta be careful how I answer that one. Many of you probably did run into me somewhere along the line when you start talking about church. But do understand, I never looked at the building of the church as the church. Okay, I've never looked at the church that way. Yes, I look at a building and go, "Oh, that's a church." But I look at pictures of my family, as in my brothers and sister, when I was growing up, and go, "Oh, those are my family," with pretty much the same recollection. Okay, so is it possible you were at my church like centuries back? Absolutely, it's possible. Okay, now I will tell you this. I'm not about to tell any one of you whether or not you were there. However, if you come to me and go, "Look, I remember this event with you," okay, if it rings with what I remember, I will absolutely corroborate it. And rest assured, I've corroborated some really bizarre things. You know, as LA and I have discussed a number of times, past life memories are real. If you have a past life memory that you do feel involves me, okay, understand I was not always a decent person. I'm not even a decent person now in my eyes. But that's another issue. Now, the real question you have to ask there, Simon, is clearly you've got a time frame in mind. And I don't know if you want to say it here or if you want to drop me a quiet line and confirm it or deny it. And let me know what time frame you're looking at. Because the more detail or the more specific of something that you can relay, the easier it is to confirm whether or not you're on the right track. Okay, or whether or not I can corroborate it. It may or may not work. Okay, I've had many people tell me they knew me from before. I don't recall them. Okay, but in all fairness, I don't recall half the people I know this lifetime. Yo, it's just I did find it very dangerous. I destroyed a friendship by corroborating something in front of other people. And this is where it becomes a problem. That's why I say if you've got something in mind, absolutely drop me a line. Okay, drop me a line here. You know, you can drop me a line either through email. I don't think I might. Now you've got me curious. You may already have my phone number. Where are we here? Don't have me in my phone anyway. But absolutely feel free to give me to reach out and we can take a peek at it. Okay. I always find it fascinating finding some of the people I had in the past. Joe Monk, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Joe Monk comes in, he goes, "I think in a past life I had dogs. All I want to do now is hang out with my dog. That's my purpose on this planet. Keep the puppy happy." You know, the funny thing there is I can look at that and go, you know, I much prefer hanging out with animals or plants than I do with people. Okay. If I'm working, I don't have a problem with the people side of it. But much happier with the animals in a lot of ways. But, you know, the reality is there aren't that many animals. Well, I can't have animals in my place. Where are we here? Ah, Joe goes, "I used to have nice bonfires out back at night in 2018 towards the cemetery. It was storming, but that particular night, enjoying myself, I saw it. I saw in the middle of a very small ghost shape moving. Always, always wonderful. You know, I find the moment you can let yourself see beyond the veil, okay, it's always an enjoyable thing in my eyes. Of course, I like I like that kind of it. In the house I used to live in with my ex, you know, we had an orphanage in the attic, a black coven in the basement. Sorry, we had a coven in the basement and a satanic cult in the back room. You know, the neat part about it is past lives, when you remember them, can give you a sense of purpose or a sense of understanding. You know, like I know of one person who cannot go in deep water because of the fact she was on the Titanic. Okay, I've met a number of people that went down in the what was the strait? I don't remember the name of the strait between England and France, or that great big old English Channel, doorknob. Okay, I saw a lot. I've known a lot of people that drowned in the English Channel. Now, I'm going to be right back, but I need to get a top up. Not to worry, people. It's water. So I will be right back.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And we are back. Kind of a priority when your throat starts to seize. Yeah, the funny thing is, Simon, I think he pulled that on the Storm pulled that off of the old movies that we used to see in the theaters. Oh, there we go. Yeah, LA's just going, it's from Monty Python's The Holy Grail. You just had to be twisted to watch Monty Python, which may explain why I enjoyed it. The thing we have to remember, everything you learn here on the physical world, in the physical world, helps you determine and to lay out what you're looking to accomplish in the way of overall wisdom. You do not come here. The whole idea of a contract, of a life path, does not get laid out where you go, Sunday I'm getting up to go to church, Tuesday I'm going into a murder fest, on Wednesday I'm going to go in and get into a drunken brawl. Doesn't work that way. Okay, your time, what you're planning is, I desire to gain wisdom around this particular situation. God knows why I seem to have chosen to go, hey, let's make certain that you understand the value of money this lifetime. This is why I know next lifetime I'm coming in with more money than I care to count. Not that I won't count it, but the money is not the important factor. I'm going in to get the money. I'm coming back next lifetime with money to accommodate being, to accommodate helping people that don't have it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, LA says it's from Monty Python. Storm goes, before that, it was an old theater concession promo. Yeah, that's the ones I remember. Is when it was in the theater. But this lifetime, I decided to come and experience what being truly broke was. Think I got that one sorted out. Joe goes, what have we got here? Yeah, last year was definitely a little challenging. Yeah, I remember the first drive-in I went to in Kelowna here. And we went to an all-nighter. The car was playing, right? The car was playing. It was the last show of the night. And just as the movie got started, they decided to have a riot in the, in the drive-in theater lot. What do we got here? Yeah, Talon Saturday, I believe. Where did I put it? Saturday. Yeah, just to be clear, Simon, we are going to be turning around and looking at the Talon race this coming Saturday. Okay. I appreciate that, Simon. The fact of the matter is, it has been a lifetime, and I set myself up for it. I know this. Lord knows it wasn't a conscious thought from a corporeal standpoint. Okay. The thing we have to realize is when, and you learn it here and gets reinforced, or more to the point, you get the chance once you go beyond the veil. Once your corporeal body dies and you're out shopping for a new one. Okay, you're still going to remember it all. As a matter of fact, you can remember all of your past lives. It's just there's only so much room in the hard drive. Okay, this is where you've got this and the entire network. Okay, when we talk about the computer net, it's based on the neural net. Okay, the human brain is built, patterned after, the computer is patterned after the human brain. Okay, and what you got to realize is it's easy to die. There are so many ways to die. The challenging thing is find a way to live. Okay, absolutely, it's time to find a way to live. If you can do that, or more to the point, when you can do that, you're going to find things start moving forward. Okay. And yes, in answer to the other side of it, like I keep running into people on the other side that I have known for centuries. Okay. Some of you, we may have a connection. I remember one chap, I'm not going to mention names. Okay. But there was a chap, I was talking to him, we were talking finances. And all of a sudden he leans into the camera and he looks at me and he goes, "You returned." I looked at him and I went, "Yeah, but where from?" Anytime, now bear in mind, we were on a private call. Okay, this was not in amongst a bunch of other people. Okay, so I could go into it with him. Here, there are limits. I made the mistake of doing something with a group, with a few people around. Absolutely decimated a friendship that was solid. Okay, I just finally got to, I've reached a point where I just don't take that gamble. You know, the nice part about it is every life is not necessarily a human one. By running into so many people that remember an alien life, okay, and they go in this lifetime, I'm not human. I'm from such and such a planet. I'm going, can't be. There is not a purebred Pleiadian on Earth. Well, that's not entirely correct. There's not a purebred Pleiadian alive on Earth. Okay, because a Pleiadian will die in Earth's atmosphere. It's like you'll never find a and I gotta look up the name. I've got it around here. So I've got it around here in one of the little books I'm working on. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Simon goes, 1111 here. 11 watching. Definitely my number. Now, the neat part about it, and I am in the process, I've got another book I'm working on. I've got a number of the little books that are coming out. One of the first ones I'm going to be completing this week is going to be, and one of the ones that's scheduled to be coming out is Meet the Talon, which is going to be, and I've mentioned this before, it'll be a book about that size. Yeah, no doubt there in LA. LA's going, changes coming in for Simon. Yeah, there's no doubt there. Let's see, 1111. I have to calculate that, so I can't do it right now. But understanding the number 11 with the numerology that I work with, okay, 11 is the number of understanding. Okay, because I work in base 12. A little bit more mathematically challenging, but covers a lot more, it has a lot less loose ends, if you will. Holy mackerel. We are getting on, aren't we? But understand, once you pass beyond the veil, it is simply another stage in your soul's life path. Your corporeal body will absolutely die. But just as here, what do we got here? We are down to 15 minutes. Yeah. Now, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work. Do understand, I will tell you this. Numerology, like the basic numerology, and what you guys have all learned, the formulae for them are pretty solid. I may have a couple of variations on it because it doesn't take a lot of calculation. I can tell you right off the bat just by knowing your age, what your personal year is. Just that easy. There's no calculation to it. Okay. But there is only one group of people that will be in a 1 year. Only one. Okay. And that one group of people that have a 1 year are newborns. It's that simple. After you get past the first year, you will never get another 1 year. But let me see here. I don't have anything booked yet, so why don't we do that? What do you think? Like I said, I do plan ahead, right? But I'm only planning a certain distance. That said, like I did with the Talon show the other day, let me just take a look at my calendar here. And we look here. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There we go. Now, here's a real heads up for you. Just writing it down. Now, when I write it down, it boils down to this. This is what we're looking at. Unless I have a health problem, family issue, or technological glitch. If those three don't take place, then we are looking at, and I just set it up and forgot exactly what I just said. I've got a good memory. It's just excessively short on occasion. Okay, Friday the 18th, we will be covering an enhanced look at numerology. You know, the neat part about it is we start questioning things. If there is a question, I'm quite willing to go after it. Okay, now understand, in order to work with numerology, the calculations where people have said, what's your life path? What does your name work out to? The calculation methods they've used are accurate. Okay, I just happen to work with something that has 12 single digit numbers instead of 9. But yeah, on the 18th, we will deal with a show on enhanced numerology. I still haven't figured out what to call it. I mean, I work with base 12 the easy way. Okay, I am also starting to open the door as far as taking other people's books and turning them into, getting them into print. I am not, quite frankly, I am not a good publicist, but I do have a phenomenal printer that I will very happily get to work on. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, Simon. If you've got questions that come up, absolutely. And here's an idea. No, it's a bad idea. Anyway, if you've got questions, you know how to get a hold of me, and I'll be more than happy to fill you in. But yeah, you work weekends, but I'm looking at it. Actually, I can still do that. Let me ask you this, Simon. And because you're asking, I'll put it this way, because I can move it right now. What day of the week works best for you to be here in order for you to actually attend? Because I'm still quite willing to move it at this point. I've got nothing booked after the 18th right now anyway. But I'm doing my best to get organized. What I have found is, and this applies, by the way, on this side of the veil and the other side of the veil. It's very easy to turn around and organize your individual life. It's a royal pain when you try and organize it with other people. And you got to have a lot more leeway. But again, Simon, if you've got a day that you would like to hear it, okay, that we haven't gone past already, by the way, absolutely pick a day of the week. Not Wednesday or Thursday, because I'm not doing it. Other than that, anywhere after the 18th I can work on. So that's how that fits. But the thing we got to remember, once you step across the veil, okay, you're not trapped over there. You can come back. God knows I've done it often enough. Okay, it's a neat little setup when you take a look at the way the world is. The world on the other side of the veil is simply part of this one. Okay, not a problem there, Simon. You know how to get a hold of me. For the time being, I'll leave it sit where it is, and we'll see what we can do. But as Storm pointed out, well, my apologies, as LA pointed out, it can be turned around. You can catch it after the show anyway. And I am starting, as a matter of fact, November. Wonder if I have it here. That's there. Oh yeah, just a neat little pop. Okay, I actually have a short story in Positive Perspectives November's edition that somebody else wrote. Okay, like I said, it would be starting to take submissions. Okay, and what is this one? So we are starting to cover that sort of thing as well. I'm getting much more organized, which is scary to say the least. Let me see, shrink that down. Well, the good news, Simon, is the planets will all be there. I'm pretty certain none of them are scheduled to go. And despite what governments and agencies are doing, changing the name of a planet does not alter the planet. Correction. Changing the designation of a planet doesn't alter the planet's influence. See, modern astrology works with 9 planets. I work with 12 in modern astrology. Adds a whole new dimension to things. But then I question everything, including my eyesight. This is why we had an interesting situation in the house today. Called my youngest son and I says, "Is the kitchen here small? Is it hazy?" Because I wasn't 100% certain my eyes were working right. All in all, when we look at beyond the veil, there are a lot more restrictions. The people on the other side are not permitted to come over here and murder people. Okay, it's just not acceptable. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Okay, but if a ghost passes away, okay, if a person passes away and they come back across the board seeking revenge, okay, they will be, once they are free of that attachment, they will be torn apart, as in into their fragments, and have to recombine before they can go home. And that's a very long, complicated conversation, which, again, that's one of those things I guess we'll have to go to down the road. But Stormy has started doing an interesting assessment, okay, of what topics are getting the most attention. Those are the ones that I'm looking at. And this is why I say, if you've got a topic you'd like to discuss, absolutely ask. I don't exactly have a short array. Now, LA is letting us know we're down to the last 5 minutes. So, with that in mind, okay, when you pass away, that's where you make the contract with yourself about what you're going to gain wisdom around when you get back here. Okay, but until then, do take care of yourself. I will see you again tomorrow. No, I will not. I will see you on Friday from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. And what are we looking at here? Oh, there we go. On Friday, we are going to be looking at aliens. Is the threat of an off-world invasion real? Okay, we're going to go into detail on that as to what is going on there. That'll be Friday between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. PST. Okay, with that in mind, I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with me and with us tonight. Really appreciate it. I will see you again on Friday, unless I die or something to that effect. Until then, take care of yourselves